Hello everyone and welcome back to Farmer Joe Homesteading. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how we turned a weedy clay mess into a beautiful no-till Zone 3 garden. Make sure you stick around to the end to see this wonderful transformation. We are planning on doing the no-till method. And this is exactly why. This is all the weeds that have grown in this clay mucky mess that we dug up for a garden. So this is why we're putting the straw down, to try and kill off and eliminate all the weeds, because it's just cut out of a grassy spot. It is finally beautiful, which means it is time to hustle and get some work done today. We are going to be in the garden, but step one, get all the goats out of the goat pen. Now that that's done, we can get messing around in that pen, digging up all that old straw and hay. Got my trailer, time to load up. First load, ready to go. So the plan with the old hay is to put it down to kind of level out and smoothen up the garden space before I put down my cardboard for our deep letter method. So I have my first load all spread out to try and level it out, and I like that. I think that'll help with some of the high and low spots, but this is really bad along here. So I'm gonna go get another load just to fill this edge here. All right, I am satisfied with that being a good level spot. So now it's time for step two, laying down the cardboard. But first, I'm gonna go ahead and go and grab a load of the hay and goat manure to have ready so that when I lay down my pieces of cardboard, I can lay down that manure on top to hold them in place. And the manure is step three anyways, so then I can get both of them done at the same time. All right, so I'm slowly making my way up to where the manger is. You can see I've dug down quite far here. There is a lot of green hay, so I scraped off the green hay. What was eatable I threw back in, what wasn't I threw into the pile, because the danger with using hay in your garden is that the seeds can still germinate. As you can see around on this side where I didn't get the green hay yet, there's quite a bit of it that's green, and you can see the transition here to this strawy yellow that's been sitting out here in the wind, the rain, the snow, and sun bleaching that will kill the seeds. So I'm going to make sure that I don't put a lot of the green stuff in and try to get rid of it as much as I can to eliminate having those seeds in my garden. So all this stuff here will all be perfect for in the garden. All right, laying out the cardboard. Just enough to hold it down so that I can keep laying some more cardboard down. I have been saving up cardboard for this project for a while, and I've had some family members save up. This is what I could fit in my trunk in one town load that I had stored in a shed that I thought would go pretty far. It's about one row. I'm gonna need way more cardboard. I still have lots of poop, so I'm gonna go ahead and just finish off this layer and put the poop on it. And then when I make it to town to get some more cardboard, we can start another row. We still have, judging by this, probably another 8 rows to go. We'll see what happens. There's a couple spots that could use some more manure, but I'm gonna leave that for today until I get some more cardboard to continue on this garden spot. So for one row, cardboard step and the manure step are completed. Today is day 2 working on this garden. I've got another load of goat poop to lay down and another big load of cardboard so we can get started on another row of this garden. All right, I got my next layer of cardboard down. Now what I did last time that I found made it easier was putting the manure in clumps throughout just to hold the cardboard down and then filling in the gaps as I go. So that's what I'm doing right here. So I'm starting from the top. I've already laid out some clumps along it, but I'm just gonna work my way up from the top now and fill in all the gaps and do a nice even layer of manure over the whole thing. We are down to the last little chunk here of the garden for the cardboard, and I wanted to show you guys what I'm using for cardboard for thickness wise. Sure that it's a pretty good thickness, so like this is quite thin, so this I'll need a double layer. But there's some boxes that you can see have 2 layers, like this box has 2 layers. This box will leave folded over because it is only 1 layer. Together it would be 2. So I'm trying to be mindful of the thicknesses to make sure that the cardboard is thick enough to keep weeds down. So I've got the cardboard layer all finished up. So now I'm just trying to smooth out all the lumps and clumps the tractor made to have a nice even layer of the compost. So once we got everything nice and smoothed out the best we could, we put some stakes and some string in to help divide up the rows from the planting rows and the in-between rows, and I'll show you how we did that. So we just took some sticks, chunks of kindling, and staked them in and measured out 3 feet for rows for garden and 18 inches for the in-betweens, and then just ran baler twine across so that when it's time for the dirt, which will be the next step, we'll fill in dirt in the 3-foot spots and only in the 3-foot spots. Then everywhere else we will put down mulch and straw and other things because there won't be plants there and it'll help keep the weeding down. So here's another 3-foot row. We ended up with 6 rows, which is awesome, and I am super excited with how this is turning out. So there has been a lot of progress done in the garden over the last few days that I wasn't able to film, just a lot going on with lots of people here and heavy equipment and the toddlers. So this is where we are at now. We got all the dirt dumped in here with the tractor. So today I'm going to be working on smoothing out all of the dirt so that we have some proper rows. I do actually have 2 rows done here on the end that are looking really nice. So now I'm just gonna work on all the rest. All right, it's done. I have beautiful rows. I'll turn the camera around so you guys can see. So with using the tractor, some of the rows ended up a little bit deeper than others, which is totally fine. It just means that there's going to be a little bit of planning on my end to make sure that I put the appropriate produce in the right spots. So this first row of our garden is actually very deep. I'd say there's at least 2 feet of dirt in pretty much all of it. So that means that it will be really, really good for all of our potatoes and carrots. Now, some of the rows as you go down aren't quite, and there's one here in the middle that's not quite as deep either. Those will be totally fine for things like our cabbages and broccolis that don't grow in the ground. So we're just going to make sure that we use our deep beds for our root vegetables, and all of the ones that are a bit more shallow will be great for all of those above ground. So I'm really excited. It is now to the planting stage. So planting is not the final stage for no-till gardening. The final stage is actually the mulch layer that you put over top. Now, in a lot of the things I found, they would go ahead and put the mulch layer over right now, but then you have to split the mulch for the seed to plant your seeds. Then once the seedlings come up, then you can put the mulch around them. I've decided that for time wise, and because I feel like it might be a little bit easier, I am going to plant everything now, make sure it's nice and wet, and then when in a week or two when everything starts coming up, I'm gonna go ahead and add that mulch layer around all of my plants. By then there will probably be some weeds that come up. This dirt that we are using is really nice, rich soil. It all comes from the barnyard, so it is aged cow manure. I don't know how aged, probably at least a couple decades. So it's really, really good, rich soil. You can see how dark it is. So I know that there's probably still going to be some weed seeds in it for sure, which is not a big deal because I know that all of the weeds will come from this top layer of dirt. It's nice and loose, which means it'll be really easy to weed to just pull them up. So I know the consequences of not mulching now means weeding, but I am willing to go through that just so that I can get this garden into the ground and get our vegetables started. Right. Now, obviously things aren't up yet because I haven't planted that long ago. So all my carrots are planted along here, and there's some potatoes at the back. I've got my perennial bed that's full of perennial flowers, and there's also some perennial bulbs that I planted in here and some perennial herbs that I planted in here. There's also some annuals that I chucked in just for fun because they're beautiful. Then we have this deep bed is all full of my bulb types. So there's beets and things like that in here. And then I also have on this end some onions, and I know that my onion sets are starting to come up. So you can see them there. The dog helped dig one up. So there is some onions starting to come up, which is exciting. I got my pea fence up, so we'll have lots of peas along there. I also planted some sunflowers in there, and for fun I alternated eating peas with sweet peas, so we should have a beautiful fence of peas. And then I have all of our cabbages and broccoli and Brussels sprouts along there. Some of them are not having a great time. The weather has been a little bit funky. It's been very windy. I've got lettuces planted on this side. There's beans planted along the back side there. And then on this side is all of my squash. So it's coming along really well. I want to just show you guys how well the no-till method has worked with the cardboard. So there's cardboard all along here, and you can see here where the cardboard edge is because nothing has planted in along the cardboard. Now we do get the odd spot like this where some grasses and some weeds came up, but they typically have very short little roots. Now these grasses, I'm assuming, are here because of a clump of grass or a clump of hay or something that had them in it, or it's coming from a clump of sod that is in with the dirt because we had some issues with clumps of sod in the dirt even just coming from the barnyard. So all of this will need to be dug. It can also be if I happened to have missed a spot in the cardboard that the grass will come up. So there is a couple spots that I have noticed, like there and there, but the suggestion with the no-till is to just put some more cardboard over it or put some more straw or old hay over it. So I'm planning on doing some more mulching to help prevent that. Now the kids have been having an absolute blast in this dirt pile. You can see all the little feet marks. So the garden has been super, super fun. What is it, Joe? What came up? What plants came up? Yeah, what are they?
Pumpkins.
Our pumpkins. We got some pumpkins coming?
Yeah.
So exciting, hey?
What are those?
That's all our cabbages and broccolis and Brussels sprouts. And they're all looking good too. How exciting. So we have lots of big flowers. Look at all the zucchinis in there growing. All of the plants are loaded with tons of buds. The yellow zucchinis are really loaded. Look at them. So lots to come. Really excited about the pumpkin patch. We harvested some broccoli this week and it is amazing. The lettuce and Swiss chard just in the last day have really taken off. Kale has started finally taking off. The spinach is coming along nicely. The peas, especially in the back, are looking good. I am concerned that the dirt was a little bit too hot because we did scoop it directly from the barnyard, and so it can be a bit hot, and I'm worried that that's why we're having issues with our beans and peas, that the dirt was just too hot. We also did this row quite shallow. It's not nearly as deep as some of the other rows, and so I'm worried that that might be why. And I mean, really, for a first year garden, I am still very impressed with how well it has done. So hopefully next year we'll be able to solve that issue because the dirt would have sat for longer. So I'm hopeful that next year that will be good. But some things like squash, the lettuces, and all of my cabbage, broccoli, they're really loving it. So it's been a really great garden. The flowers are still doing amazing. Tons of carrots. So really loving this garden, really loving this method. So because we chose not to do that top final layer of mulch, we do have weeds in our garden, but we have found that it's mostly just in our sides and not so much in the middle after I spent more time working on weeding the middle. Weeding this garden has been my favorite weeding I have ever done. This has been our best, most prolific garden that I have ever been able to grow, and I have been super pleased with this method. The weeds are super easy to pull, making it the ideal garden for busy moms like myself that do not have lots of time to be in the garden fussing with all of the weedy mess. I can spend about an hour a week in here plucking out the weeds, and it's super easy because all the weeds come from that top layer of dirt, so they're not having any penetrating through that cardboard coming up, which is when you get those really tough roots that don't want to break out. So it's been super easy to weed because they literally just pull right up from the root and all, making it very easy, very manageable to pull them up, which means that it's very easy for me to be out here and spend a lot less time. It's a very, very low maintenance garden, which I have absolutely loved and has helped a lot this year with having the busyness of raising the 2 toddlers and all of the animals. Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button to our channel so that you never miss an update. We have another video coming out soon on our no-till method that we used for our strawberry patch. So make sure you stick around to see that coming up here soon. We'll see you guys next time.